9 episodes, 1 season of Marvel's What If has wrapped up. Yes, season 2 is coming, that's already been confirmed like a year ago or something. Still, for a while this will be all. Let's stop and rank all 9. Of course, these are my personal placements. It's totally cool if you disagree. I would say it's interesting to maybe share in the comment section, so feel free. Hi fellow Disney Plus watchers, this is Thoughts After a Disney Plus Watch, where we review everything new Disney Plus coming out, and I'm glad you're watching the channel that's all about Disney Plus movies and TV shows. So just fair warning here before we start, I do want to discuss spoilers to really do this show justice, you know, so you can press that watch later button if you haven't seen all of What If yet. Still here? That's great. And you know, if you want to hear me more in depth on these episodes, you can always watch my individual episode reviews, linked both in the description and at the top of the screen right now. Coming in at the bottom is episode 7, What If Thor Were an Only Child? Can we please all agree, despite our opinions, can we please all agree that this episode isn't a comedy within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but rather a parody of the Marvel Cinematic Universe? We can have different opinions on that, but let's just say we can agree about it being a parody, then we go from there. Respectfully, this is one of the worst things I've ever seen that involves Marvel characters. Captain Marvel is a party pooper, Surtur flirts with the Statue of Liberty, Darcy marries Howard the Duck, and above all, everybody is a complete caricature of their characters. The concept what if Thor were an only child is a lie. That's not the concept of this film. It's a dumb excuse to make something truly, well, I want to say offensive. Just reverse engineer Thor into the version he is since the movie Ragnarok and amplify that with a factor of 10. It threw me off so badly, I was frowning the whole way through. I can't believe how terrible this one was. Number 8, episode 1, What If Captain Carter Were the First Avenger? I don't think it was particularly a smart move to start the season with this one. It's very similar to the original movie, except for the final set piece. Captain Carter is not that interesting of a concept, it's just a character swap. Yes, Steve and Peggy did have some moments that were really well done, but the idea of this thing is just uninspiring to me. In my opinion, it left me pretty lukewarm on What If to begin with. And you know, the pacing is awful. It's like they needed twice the runtime, but overlords at Marvel told them to shove it into 30 minutes. It leaves everyone who is not a Marvel fanatic, who knows the ins and outs of the universe, out of the experience. I don't really like the word, but you can say this episode is amazingly non-inclusive. So as a standalone story, I found it pretty terrible actually, but there were some cool individual ideas, I guess, and Steve and Peggy were well portrayed as characters, really good. Episode 2, What If T'Challa Became a Star-Lord? It was also not anything special to me. That is why it's next up on my list. The show follows a simple character swap episode up with another character swap. T'Challa getting picked up by Yondu instead of Peter Quill. The season really took some time to get going in my opinion. Especially looking back to this whole season, it's pretty weird to me that they essentially started out with 2 character swap episodes that to me didn't bring many interesting things to the table. But talking about this one, I did really like the opening scene where we see the repercussions of someone else being Star-Lord, and we see what image a name like Star Wars could have in a galaxy where he's truly a good man. Korath being so huge of a fanboy for meeting Star-Lord, that was cool. But yeah, from there we go into an episode that might be more messy and way too fast-paced than the first one was, with way too many characters, way too many things that I find cool or interesting in isolation, but just weren't that enjoyable in this frantic mess. Next up, number 6, episode 5, What If Zombies? Now we're moving into the episodes that I actually like. This one is pretty cool. Zombie Captain America, somehow really iconic. The action is really cool, especially seeing Hope grow herself into a giant to save everyone. Nice clever maneuver. I enjoyed the overall plot really much. It's cool to see Spider-Man, Ant-Man, and Okoye together, just these three and all these characters around them. Just a lot of characters that we don't see together normally. But here's my big flaw of the episode. The characters don't even take this world-ending zombie threat that seriously. There's a lot of death in this episode, and it's too short maybe to have them mourn all the way through, but now it got to a point that nobody seemed to care. It was really hard to connect with the characters this way. Odd experience watching this episode. Still, a lot of cool stuff and things that are memorable, so it's still an episode I like. Okay, starting to break down the top 5. Number 5, episode 6, What If Killmonger Rescued Tony Stark? The premise of this one is pretty random and just slightly uninspiring. Killmonger just happened to be around to throw the bomb away from Tony Stark so that Tony wouldn't become Iron Man. If I was an executive at Marvel and I just heard this premise, I would tell him or her, the one that came up with the idea, to think of something better. Sorry, why Killmonger? Well, the story that follows, gotta admit, is pretty cool. Killmonger maneuvering his way into Stark Industries, being loyal to Wakanda in his own twisted way, double-crossing his own people, deceiving the king, framing himself as the hero. There's a lot of political dynamics that were really interesting, and the episode was just entertaining despite its silly starting point. My number 4 would be the season finale, What If the Watcher Broke His Oath. Now tomorrow I will do a spoiler discussion on this episode, so be sure to check that out if you enjoy this show, because there's a lot of details and stuff happening that is really worth talking about. But as I'm recording this, I just watched this and this is my quick reaction. Thoroughly entertaining, though compared to the setup episode last week, slightly disappointing. Slightly. It pulls every character from these episodes together, except for Gamora. We haven't seen her before, but I guess we know what happened there, but we talk about that tomorrow. And it results in one of the most eventful episodes with lots of cool stuff happening, you know. Love the final conversation between Natasha and the Watcher when she asks, don't I deserve a happy ending? You know, directly questioning the morally gray dilemma. What is more important? Not interfering or helping out those in need. And I totally get Natasha. The Watcher already broke his oath, and he can give her another life, like just like that. And then he does it, and it doesn't really make sense. But we will talk about it tomorrow, okay? We're in the top 3, episode 3, What If the World Lost Its Mightiest Heroes? Marvel Studios' first murder mystery is pretty solid. In my opinion, it was the first episode through this 9-episode run that told a proper story in its own right and can be enjoyed by anyone, I think, not just Marvel junkies like us. The real underlying what if event of this episode is what if Hope Van Dyne joined S.H.I.E.L.D. on a mission and didn't come back. It's cool that we discovered the real what if later on in the story. Just like in a real murder mystery movie, we get the answer, or should I say question, because it's a what if, really late into the story. Contrary to the zombie episode, the deaths in episode 3 are pretty meaningful, and it's awesome that Marvel seized the opportunity to create a well-paced, interesting and high-stakes story, all the while killing off all of our favorite characters. This version of Hank Pym is also pretty fascinating in my opinion. Not all of the episodes in the series are believable worlds, but this one absolutely is. Next up, number 2, episode 8, What If Ultron won? This episode feels so consequential because it literally destroys what we've been taking for granted, and actually not only taken for granted, but we've been told that we need to have the Watcher in these episodes to look after and protect these timelines. Well, here it gets shattered by a story that blew my mind. The grandeur of it, the complete dedication, Ultron as an ever-learning artificial intelligence taking control of the Infinity Stones. This episode felt a bit like Avengers Infinity War, same kind of vibes. It's amazing that we can see these kinds of stories from Marvel. The fight scenes are breathtaking, and oh my god, this is a work of art. Yes, I thought it was a bit disappointing that we didn't get anything of importance between Ultron and Thanos, and that the two of them meeting gets played like a joke. I get it. Ultron is now so powerful he can slice Thanos in half in a blink of an eye. He's even scarier now. Well, yes, but the missed opportunity here is that these two beings have similar goals, destroying life across the universe, but would still disagree about how that's done, how that goal would be achieved. So much potential, but man, overall this episode, what a thrill ride this was. But my number 1, the big emotional Shakespearean masterpiece of this season is still episode 4, What If Doctor Strange Lost His Heart Instead of His Hands? Doctor Strange losing his loved one, then abusing his powers to try and get her back, resulting in the fabric of the multiverse to crack, and then another version of himself trying to stop him. It's the most poetic episode out of the season because it plays into the tragedy of predestination. Doctor Strange tries to twist the multiverse to his advantage, but timelines go how timelines go, and we literally get 2 universes colliding. It's a what if Inception event, all the while being just a well-told Shakespearean story about grief. It's everything that what if ever could have been, packaged into an amazing emotional roller coaster. I love this one. I'm thinking about wrapping this up. Thank you so much for watching. I'm curious, what did you think of the show overall, and how would you rank them? Be sure to let me know in the comment section. Don't forget, if you enjoy the idea of discussing Disney Plus content with us, that red button looks familiar, right? And if you're interested in thoughts on previous episodes, it's all in the description, or you can browse the channel page. Did you like this video? Then be sure to consider giving that a click. Thanks. For now, have a wonderful day and see ya.